Better Late Than Never. Welcome. Reaction episode. Fucking Anton Lander.
I really like the back up song.
Night milk. This is Cesus. Yeah! Cesus.
All right, let's just turn this down. We're just going to get right to it. It's a late little bonus episode of Better Late Than Never coming at you late on a Monday. The Oilers just lost. I'm sad. And despite finishing up the B-cast and finishing up my work for the day, I decided I might as well come down here and finish off my day with a little bit of positive news. I'm a little bit salty, if I'm being honest. The Edmonton Oilers just lost their third game in a row, third winnable game in a row, I should add, and that makes me incredibly frustrated. They had, obviously, that loss to the St. Louis Blues, heartbreaker. There was mistakes aplenty in the last few minutes of that game, ultimately caused their demise. And then the Saturday, they were just junk. They got goalied against Anaheim. Really upsetting. I think all of us can know how frustrating that is to lose to one of the worst teams in the NHL. Lord knows we were one of the worst teams in the NHL for ages. And when it came to beating teams, we were all like, yay! And everybody else's fan base was just like, I can't believe we lost to the Oilers. Well, that just happened to us on Saturday. And then tonight, against the Nashville Predators, a team that we absolutely own, the boys just couldn't get the job done. Down 3 separate times, came back. Nashville would score, we would score. Nashville score, we would score. Nashville would score, Nuge would score. All of a sudden, the game's in overtime, we're looking in good shape. Once we get there, again, things go sideways. But that is not what this emergency podcast is about. Wait for the main episode. Wednesday's episode. Probably Thursday, actually, now I'm thinking about it. Wednesday is the Nation Christmas party, so I probably won't be doing this the day of the Christmas party, but maybe a hungover episode the next day. Until then, you're just going to have to settle with the Stuart Skinner contract reaction bonus episode of Better Late Than Never. Today, good news this morning. I woke up, check the Twitter machine, make a cup of coffee, maybe bring Frank up into my lap, have a little snuggles in the morning, puppy cuddles. Everybody has a good time with that. And then I see the news come down that Stuart Skinner had signed a contract extension with the Edmonton Oilers, and I was super excited about it. I just absolutely loved the idea of getting Stu locked up. Obviously, we're talking about a guy who's performing very, very well in net for the Edmonton Oilers, and I think he deserved it. I just really think he did, I should say. And I'm so pumped that the Oilers actually got this done now. I thought it was a fair value for what they paid. So if you missed the details, Stuart Skinner, 24 years old, former third-round pick of the Edmonton Oilers in 2017. He signed a 3-year contract extension today with an average annual value of $2.6 million. In year one, according to the folks at Puckpedia, $2.1 million in salary. Woo! $200,000 in signing bonus cash. Year two, he has got, hang on, I'm going to do some sound effects here. Let's do a little producing on the fly here. Year two, he's got $2.5 million in salary. Year three, he has got $3 million in salary. All in all, that comes out to just under $8 million total. And I could not be happier for the kid. Again, we are talking about a third-round pick in 2017. He was 78th overall. Born November 1st, 1998, Stuart Skinner grew up as a fan of this team. He said it in an interview about a month ago, and it's kind of interesting to me, and that's what makes this extension so exciting for me. He said in the interview a while ago that his favorite player, or he grew up watching Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Gene asked him between periods about playing with the Nuge, and Skinner's like, well, I grew up watching him, and I was thinking about it. I was like, man, that is wild to think about. But then, when you really get into the math, you look at it and you go, well, he's 24. He just turned 24. And Ryan Nugent-Hopkins got drafted in 2011. And if I take the math away, oh, yeah, he was a child. He was a child. Stuart Skinner was a child when Ryan Nugent-Hopkins got drafted. And I bet he probably watched that draft just like the rest of us. And he was cheering. He was excited about it. Because you know what? He was an Oilers fan growing up. Watched the Nuge draft, lived with us through the decades of darkness, and then as he worked his way up, he went from playing just local club hockey to playing with the Lethbridge Hurricanes in the WHL. Moved on to the Swift Current Broncos in the WHL. His first taste of pro action came in 2018-2019 for the Wichita Thunder. That was again after he was drafted in 2017. In 2018-2019, he graduated to the Bakersfield Condors. That same year he got 6 games played with the Bakersfield Condors. So in 2018-2019, first taste of pro action. Most of the games in the ECHL, a little cup of coffee in the AHL. 2019-2020, reversed the action. He had 3 games played with the Wichita Thunder, 41 games played with the Bakersfield Condors. The very next season, he made his NHL debut. 2020-2021, he only played in 1 game with the Edmonton Oilers, but he picked up a win. His very first game, yet he allowed 5 goals against. He played the full 60 minutes. He had 33 saves. Picked up the win for the Oilers. 2021, he's played the bulk of the year, obviously, with the Bakersfield Condors. 2021-22, as I'm sure you all remember if you're listening to this, we got our first extended look at Stu when Mike Smith was hurt. He played 13 games with the Oilers last year, including picking up his first NHL shutout against the San Jose Sharks on Valentine's Day. He finished the year with a 13 save percentage at the NHL level. Down at the AHL level with the Bakersfield Condors, he played in 35 games, finished with a 920. This year, through 19 games with the big club, he has got a 915 save percentage and a 283 goals against average. Stu is looking fierce between the pipes for the Oilers. And the thing that I like about it is, let's back it up to the human element. I touched on it briefly. Thinking about the Ryan Nugent-Hopkins draft, because my boy scored 2 goals tonight. Stuart Skinner, I like to think about this when this news came out today, that Stuart Skinner probably dreamed about this moment for his entire life. And today, on December 19th, 2022, his dream came true. Not only did he have his first entry-level contract signed with the Oilers, that's step 1. He got that one done out of the way a few years back, right? That's the first step. You get drafted, you sign your entry-level deal, you hope you make the NHL, but when you're a goaltender, you have no idea if that's going to work out. Then you get the extension. Well, bridge deal, let's see how this works. Let's see if he keeps progressing through the ranks and see if he can keep playing well at each level that he jumps up to. Stuart Skinner did exactly that. Stuart Skinner did all of that and then some. And then he earned himself a tasty little multi-million-dollar contract for 3 seasons with his hometown club. The team that he probably wore pajamas to. We saw all the Tavares in Leafs pajamas when he signed with the Leafs coming over from the New York Islanders. But in the case of Stuart Skinner, he grew up wearing those pajamas. He grew up wanting an Oilers jersey. He grew up probably going to Rexall and Rogers Place, checking out games with his parents, grandparents, and his, battling with his siblings. Lord knows he's got a lot of them. So for me, this is just some massive news for the Oilers and something that they did well. Now, if you're going to nitpick the deal, and you can do that if you want, we're allowed to do that. We're being honest with each other. This does walk him right to free agency. It does take up 1 year of UFA time, but ultimately this walks him to free agency. So the Oilers have got 3 years to figure it out if they are going to get a marriage going beyond this 3-year contract. According to Zach Lang in his cap breakdown article over at OilersNation.com, what's key for the Oilers in their cap situation is that the $2.25 million in dead cap space will be coming off the books this season. Milan Lucic, $750,000 in retained salary from that trade comes off at the end of the year, as does Andrej Sekera's $1.5 million buyout. The Oilers won't have to deal with any LTIR complications after this season either. Oscar Klefbom's $4.167 million contract comes to an end, as does Mike Smith, $2.2 million deal. That leaves the club, according to Lang and CapFriendly.com, with $8.275 million in space heading into the offseason. They do have some work to do, but now Stuart Skinner is not one of them. At the end of the day, this was a move that had to get made. And right now you've got your goaltending set up. Both Skinner and Campbell. Again, I thought Campbell played fine against the Nashville Predators tonight, by the way. You've got both of those guys locked in for less than $8 million. When you're talking about a cap situation like the Oilers are in, having your goaltending dialed in, and I know Campbell's not playing as well as we want him to, but I think he started to turn a corner. I legitimately do. And now having him and Stu locked up for this year and then another 3, that's a tasty little piece of goaltending, in my opinion. All of a sudden, you've got two guys that can work with each other, that can battle off each other, that can try and feed off each other, and that can support each other in this mission that we're on. I think this is a good thing. You've got two good people there. By all accounts, Campbell and Skinner already have a solid relationship. You saw on the road trip and in the games at Rogers Place when Skinner was handling the bulk of the workload, Campbell was supportive. And that's what we need from this tandem right now. And so to have them both locked up for the foreseeable future, I love it. I love it. Over at Daily Faceoff, however, Mike McKenna, former NHL goaltender, he wrote a different kind of take on this contract signing for Stuart Skinner. He says, the title of his article, "With the new contract, Stuart Skinner gains valuable leverage with the Edmonton Oilers." Of course, like I mentioned, that walks him right to free agency. Let me read a little bit of McKenna's thoughts. I know that might sound weird, but let me explain. Let me get this out of the way. Skinner's contract is a smart deal for the Oilers on a monetary sense. The franchise will have cost certainty between the pipes through the end of the 2025-26 NHL season. And even though Jack Campbell's contract already looks like a mistake, he has 4 years remaining at a bloated $5 million deal. At least Edmonton GM Ken Holland knows what he's working with for the foreseeable future. But what this really comes down to is Skinner and why the local boy agreed to a deal that I think is worth less than he could have generated during the upcoming offseason. For Mike McKenna, that is, there's a few reasons. Jack Campbell was signed to be the starting goaltender for Edmonton and was paid accordingly. $5 million is a lot of money. Skinner knows no matter how well he plays, there's internal pressure for Campbell to regain the crease. Buying out Campbell isn't a viable option right now for the Oilers as much as you want to hear it. And trading him might be next to impossible. Campbell's contract isn't going anywhere. But Skinner also has a good thing going in Edmonton. He's earned the crease through solid, consistent play. His .915 save percentage is in line with the .913 he posted last year. And Skinner now has 33 NHL games under his belt and seems to be getting better. Skinner is not going to go anywhere when this contract is up. Remember, unless there is something that goes completely sideways in this deal, it doesn't get better than fulfilling your dream of playing as the starting goaltender for your hometown team. And that's where Mike McKenna goes next. Here's the thing, and I'm quoting McKenna here. Here's the thing. I can't imagine Skinner has any desire to leave his hometown in Edmonton in search of greener pastures elsewhere. But to me, that's the biggest piece of this puzzle. Skinner's new deal takes him directly to being an unrestricted free agent 2 seasons before Campbell's contract ends. That's a win for Skinner, but he probably had to give... Actually, that's a little bit incorrect from Mike McKenna. It'll be 1 year left on Campbell's deal. So you could actually just buy that out and split it up over 2, or maybe take it, retain some salary on it and actually trade it away. That's a win for Skinner, says McKenna, but he probably had to give up a few dollars in the short term to attain such flexibility, because with a season like he's having, I think this offseason could have brought Skinner a new contract worth upwards of $3 million per year or more. While the numbers of the contract work for the Oilers, it had to be a big gulp for Holland to risk losing Skinner to free agency, because in just over 3 years, maybe sooner, Edmonton will have to make a choice between Campbell and Skinner. Well, let me tell you something. When he's your hometown guy and he got a mustache like that, I can't see any way that Stuart Skinner is not going to be here for the long term. And at 24 years old, we're talking about a fresh 24-year-old, by the way. His birthday is November 1st. I believe that makes him a Scorpio, but I'm just making that up. If my missus was here, she would correct me. But there's so much to like here. Again, going back to the human element of it. His dream was to play for this franchise. I guarantee it, sure as I'm sitting here talking to you. Now that he's got that in his hands, I don't think that Stuart Skinner is going to turn his back on it. And I think he's going to grab the opportunity, and I think he's going to get better than what we've seen already. And at 915 over the 19 appearances so far this season, Stuart Skinner is doing everything that we needed him to, everything we could have ever asked him to, and he's been rewarded for it with a handsome contract. My boy is made bank, and he has absolutely deserved it, and I could not be happier for Stuart Skinner. I'd love to know what you guys think. Leave me a review. Leave a 5-star review on this podcast. Let me know what you think of the Stuart Skinner contract, or leave me a voicemail for the upcoming episode of Better Late Than Never whenever I get to it. Be that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Some point this week I will record the normal one. Just the Christmas season. You know how it goes. We got our Nation Christmas party on Wednesday. I'm not going to do it when I'm all buzzy, you know? But in the meantime, I'm super excited. And in the meantime, I can't be happier for Stuart Skinner because he put himself in a position to make that kind of bread through hard work and results. And for a guy that is doing it in front of his hometown crowd where he probably grew up. I wonder, wouldn't it be interesting to ask Stuart Skinner, like, hey, when you're growing up and you're at Rexall Place or Rogers Place, depending on, when you got to go to the games, who'd you boo? Who's the guy you like to boo? Who's your GOAT? Not like GOAT in the greatest of all time sense of the word, but GOAT in the classic Nation Wanye sense of the word. I imagine there was somebody. So he knows what that pressure is like of playing in front of this team because he was a part of the mix. He was on the other side of the glass at one point. And now that he's got a mustache, now that he's grown into a strapping man at 6'4" is what he's listed at, come on. It doesn't get any better for Stuart Skinner. It doesn't get any better for Oilers fans. And I'm super pumped on what this guy is going to bring to the table and what we have got just in line with him what we've got in him down the line. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm excited. I can't even get my words out. Stuart Skinner, I'm looking at a picture of him right now. You can't see the picture that I'm looking at, but it's him. It's with a big mustache. He's got a big smile. And that's how I'd feel if I signed a contract with $8 million and whatever that works out to. I love it. Stuart Skinner, I love you, buddy. We need you. Please keep working hard. Please keep hustling. Don't let, as Mac T put it, this contract look like his finish line, and I just can't even imagine that's an option in your head because you got here on the back of hard work in your hometown, my friend, and I could not imagine a cooler situation. I'm just so pumped for you.